everyone. Welcome to an awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FM Train at TV, where every day is a great day to learn about FileMaker, even if you're in an undisclosed location. I am currently in Battle Mountain, Nevada, off duty for the moment. The Firehawk is in the caring hands of a different crew. So today is a very awesome day. We have the live stream right here. We got the upcoming broadcast schedule. We got Jesse Barnum. 360 Works there's a handful of companies that have been critical to the long-term success of Claris. 360 Works, Proofgeist, Soliant's been super helpful to greater or lesser degree, some of the other consultancies. Who else are I thinking? A couple of different. Monkey Bread. Christian Schmidt. Yeah. These companies have brought in features to the product that have kept the platform relevant. Today is on MirrorSync. Today's MirrorSync. This is the definitive de facto standard for synchronizing offline databases with an online FileMaker server. We've also used this technology to generate or to create what we call clustering. And clustering or round the world replication of servers. So you have offices in 5 continents or 10 continents. You put a FileMaker server in each continent, and as people interact with that server, the data updates each of the servers in real time. Okay. Now, Claris is going to try to go back and do a little bit of this stuff, I think, with what they're trying to do with some new features. But really, at the end of the day, if you want any sort of clustering and they're not doing anything with sync that I'm aware of. But, there's always the idea of having a backup server. So Claris is kicking around this idea. Well, if your server falls over, you have a backup server. With this from Jesse, but the MirrorSync stuff, you can have 5 or 10 backup servers if you want. It's awesome. And they can fail over. They do all sorts of stuff. They're really awesome. So Jesse, welcome. Jesse Barnum, the CEO of 360 Works. Welcome to the live stream.
Thanks, guys.
So it's always better that someone else tells everyone how wonderful you are, so you don't have to tell them yourself because it sounds very self-serving, right? MirrorSync allows us to have databases that are offline, then we bring them back together, they synchronize together. So if you're in the desert, like I'm in Battle Mountain, I've got really good T-Mobile, but if I go out of town, I'd have to have Starlink. What if there's no Starlink, or Elon Musk, the Russians shoot Starlink out of the sky for some reason? Solar flare, Starlink dies, whatever. The point is that offline database is a thing, and it's important, and it's useful. And so we have an update today. Jesse, you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. MirrorSync is the new version 7 is what I'm going to be really talking about. We've been really hard at work getting MirrorSync 7, and the big focus of MirrorSync 7 has been speed and deployment, and making deployment easier and speed faster. So I've been on the show before. I've showed how to set up MirrorSync, how to configure it, how to do all the scripts and layouts and everything like that. And I know, Richard, that you tell me all the time, you need to show the same stuff over and over again until people really get it. And I know you're right, but I'm going to skip over for this time. I'm going to skip over how you set up MirrorSync.
Because most of the people here don't remember it.
You're right.
That's the problem.
You're right. But I'm too excited to show the new stuff. I've only got an hour, and I've got a lot of new stuff to show. So here, I've got some slides I'm going to put up.
Oh, God, slides.
I'm having a hard time talking. Who is Jesse Barnum? I love motorcycles. I love camping. I love motorcycle camping. I speak a lot at DevCon. That's the Blue Ridge Parkway on the right. The way Richard is about his helicopters, that's how I am about my
I flew right over that spot, actually, twice. So, yes.
Really?
Yep.
I think I was with you for a certain part of that. We were in Clayton, Georgia, and we were flying around.
Yep. We caused all sorts of hate and discontent. So yes.
I'm the main developer for MirrorSync. If you ask a tech support question, it's probably either going to be me or Adam that answers your question. So I get all the tech support things, which is really good because as the author and the tech support person, it really makes it very real for me when I make a mistake or when I do something right because I hear about it very quickly. Richard, I think you've already covered this point pretty well, so I'm gonna skim past here. But I do want to pause on this slide for a moment because sometimes people think that MirrorSync is just about FileMaker, and this honestly it's our fault because we just market MirrorSync to the FileMaker market. But I just want to have one quick slide talking about some of the different databases that we support besides FileMaker. We do MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, Postgres, Salesforce, DynamoDB, Redshift, and anything with a custom API. And any of these combinations of things can sync with each other. So You can sync MySQL to Salesforce. You can sync Dynamo to Postgres. You can sync FileMaker to FileMaker. You can sync FileMaker to MySQL. And you can sync FileMaker Pro or Go with any of those things above. And what's really particularly interesting that I don't talk about enough, but I'm actually going to briefly demo it today, is you can also sync FileMaker Pro or Go with any of these things on the slide above. So like, I think we all are aware that, you can, if you use MirrorSync, you can sync FileMaker Pro or Go with FileMaker Server. But did you know you can sync FileMaker Pro or Go with MySQL, or FileMaker Pro or Go with Salesforce, or FileMaker Pro or Go with SQL Server or Oracle? Any of these things work directly, even if you're not using FileMaker Server on the back end of that connection, which is pretty interesting.
I was not aware you could do that with MirrorSync, so that's actually really awesome to know, honestly.
Yeah. And it works really well. We've got, I haven't gotten approval for this person to use their name, so I won't mention their name, but we have a developer that I'm good friends with that I know really well that uses it extensively with a team of people that go out and do disaster cleanup, and they sync from FileMaker Pro or Go to a MySQL database.
Woo!
And it's really, really fast and it works really well. So
nice.
Yeah, there are people using that for very real world applications. So I wanted to, something I don't normally talk about, but I realized that it's really helpful to talk about this a little bit more, is just give some real life examples of what people are doing with MirrorSync rather than just diving straight into demos, just talking about what are people doing with it. So this is actually an ex-employee of ours that we stayed on very good terms with. He runs a company that has warehouse parts for race cars. He has 6 warehouses in Southern California, and they run 6 copies of FileMaker Server. They have 1 main warehouse and then 5 branch warehouses, and they use MirrorSync to sync all 6 of those FileMaker servers together so that when they're picking parts off of the warehouse thing, they don't need to worry about if the network is working or not, and it's just much faster for them in each warehouse. One of our oldest MirrorSync server customers is a company that is African Safari Tours. They have a Salesforce system for doing all of their leads and all of their prospecting. And then when a customer says, yes, I would like to do this African Safari, they use that system. They use MirrorSync to sync all the data from Salesforce to FileMaker, and then they do the actual tour itinerary in FileMaker Server using a FileMaker application. One of my favorite MirrorSync projects that I was very involved with personally is Chicago Public Schools. They use these are all server-to-server syncs, by the way. They use FileMaker Server to sync that with DynamoDB, which is a very, very high volume database run by Amazon.com and AWS. And then they have a web application that there's 40,000 people that simultaneously log in to use that. Not 40,000 people like over the course of a day or an hour, but 40,000 people like at the exact same time as each other clicking around the web. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's substantial.
We talked about that on the live stream at one point when we were at back in Florida in 2019.
Yeah.
And FileMaker does,
and every year they run this application. Every year they do their enrollments and they use this process and they use MirrorSync, and it's the only thing that they've come up with yet that hasn't melted down when everybody tries to log in at the same time.
That's awesome.
So this is a hosting customer of ours, McDonald Companies. It's not McDonald's, the restaurant. It's a different McDonald's. They have offices in Texas and Illinois. Illinois is their main office, but they have a bunch of people in Texas. So we set up 2 FileMaker servers, 1 in Texas and 1 in Illinois. We set up DNS failover so that all the users automatically connect to whichever server is closer to them. And then if either server goes down, all the users get rerouted to the other server. And when the servers come back up, MirrorSync restores all of that data so that they're all back in sync with each other. So let's talk about client to server syncs. What are people using MirrorSync for when they're syncing FileMaker Pro or Go to a server? So Youth with a Mission, or YWAM, is run by, not run by, that's the wrong, Marty Thomason, who's a friend of mine, and also in the Atlanta area, FileMaker developer, very, very good guy. He volunteers and donates his time to create a FileMaker solution for Youth with a Mission. They have these hospital ships, I think is one ship. They have a hospital ship that they go around to Papua New Guinea. They go to these villages on shore that have no access to medical care at all. And they bring a whole FileMaker system with them. And they sync, they do dental and vision care. And then they sync all that back to a server that's running on the ship. And then they use a server-server sync to sync the FileMaker server on that ship with another FileMaker server in Sydney. And it would be really, really hard to do that without MirrorSync because they're in the jungle. Probably our largest MirrorSync customer, measured by number of devices, I think they have about 2,500 people that are simultaneously syncing with not simultaneously necessarily, but 2,500 people that are using MirrorSync. These are paramedics, firefighters, EMTs, first responders, that when they get to an emergency and they load somebody into an ambulance, they are keying in all of their information into a FileMaker Go solution developed by IMS. And then when they get to the hospital, they get out of the ambulance and they sync so that by the time that patient is in the waiting room, all of their information is already waiting for them in the FileMaker database so that the healthcare providers have access to that. Chris Rogers, who has a vertical market application called Tour Pro for managing dance competitions. He was one of the early adopters for MirrorSync 7 and was invaluable for doing development and testing. He's provided a ton of feedback and bug fixes. And he uses MirrorSync to manage dance competitions around the world. So they run, in a typical week, they might run 10,000 syncs from 5 countries around the world for about 500 different companies that manage dance competitions. So I start off with that just to kind of give an idea of what people do. And then this is kind of a little bit different from some of the other examples because it is a very kind of simple application. So, this isn't like doing something in the jungle or saving people's lives in an ambulance. This is just Cindy, who runs EPB Office Products, who called us about a month or two ago. And actually, Richard, I believe that she has hosted on your servers on an RCC server. I've talked to your guys before about managing her server, when I've had questions and stuff about her server. So she's actually a hosting customer of yours, and she uses a solution that she's built with FM Starting Point. And she travels a lot, and she just takes it's her and her husband, and they have employees in Canada. And when they travel around the world, she just wants to be able to take a copy of her database with her and manage her orders and inventory from anywhere that she is. So she uses MirrorSync she doesn't use FileMaker Pro, or Go rather. She has a laptop, and so she's using FileMaker Pro. And she just takes a copy of the database that's hosted on the RCC servers, puts it on her laptop, takes it wherever she goes, and she can do a bidirectional sync to stay up to date with all of her orders and inventory from around the world.
Nice.
Yeah, you don't need to be like managing race cars or saving people in the jungle or something like that. Use MirrorSync. But people do really neat stuff with it. The EPB Office Products is worth mentioning for one other reason, which is that it's free to Cindy because MirrorSync is totally free for one device, and all she has is her one laptop. And so, I want to make sure that everybody realizes that you can use MirrorSync with one device totally for free. There's no trial mode, there's no demo mode, there's no limitations, there's no expiration. It's the full-blown product. And so that's totally free if you're using it for one device.
That's pretty awesome.
That's actually really awesome.
I think it's been paying attention to me, Margaret, where we tell them about, marketing secrets and stuff. So yeah.
I every time after I get on your show, I have a ton of notes afterward that I get from you that I do stuff with. So you might think that I'm not always listening to you, but I am.
Good. Well, we know a couple things about stuff. So yeah, and using Pro on a laptop without Go, something to be said for that. Yeah. So
and I didn't put it on the slides, but my wife Lisa does the same thing. She has all of our internal systems are in FileMaker. She does all of our bookkeeping and everything like that. Mm-hmm. When we travel, she just takes copies of that on a plane with her, and then she can do all of the stuff and create invoices and stuff and sync it back to our FileMaker server.
I have to tell my wife that. She thinks she's stuck at home, but I told her no. She can do MirrorSync onto her laptop, Dana.
Yeah.
And she can do MirrorSync with the finance and the laptop and take it with her wherever she goes.
I would love to get on and do the setup for you so that you can have her do that. That would be really cool.
She would kill me, but yes, she's very low profile. If I'm high profile, she is low profile.
Yeah.
And if she becomes high profile, I'm sleeping on the couch for like 6 months. So it's
I've met Dana a few times. She is far more relaxing to talk to.
She's actually, I'm watching her right now. She's working very coolly to ignore me while I'm on the show. Yeah. Okay, so moving along. Forget I mentioned that.
So let's talk about what's new. So you know what MirrorSync is for. Let's talk about why MirrorSync 7 is an important upgrade from MirrorSync 6. And most of it falls into 3 main categories: easier deployment, faster, and developer support. So the easier deployment, I'm going to skip over some of these things because I've got demos for some of them. So I'll just very briefly mention that we now support the iOS SDK deployment fully with version updates, and I'll show you a demo of that. We now support server-side initial syncs with an email notification, which is I've done this presentation a couple times, and that's been the one that I've gotten the most excited feedback about. That wasn't the thing that I thought was the coolest, but it's what my customers seem to think is the coolest. So I will definitely demo that. We have a new launcher file which supports multi-file solutions, and it's much easier and simpler to send somebody the launcher file if they're on FileMaker Go than to send them a download URL. We did a little test, and with the download URL in iOS, because the iOS interface is a little weird for downloads, it's 9 clicks. If you send somebody a URL, it's 9 clicks before they're sitting there with the database open in FileMaker. With the launcher file, it's 2 clicks.
Yeah.
One on the icon and one that says open in FileMaker Go, and that's it. So it's a much easier deployment process to get it to your users. They're going to be less confused. You don't need to create a little video like some of our customers have, like here's the 9 clicks you need to do.
Okay.
So big speed improvements. I've got demos for some of those. I would say that in general, MirrorSync is like 4 to 18 times faster for a lot of common operations.
Okay. That's way faster.
Yeah. There's developer features I'm not going to demo, but I'll just briefly talk about. One is we now have a database of every time you sync. So if you're ever curious about like who deleted this record, or has this user been using MirrorSync at all, or I would like to be emailed if something goes wrong, or anything along those lines, there's a separate database file that you can optionally host on your server. And every time the sync runs, MirrorSync will push the statistics to that server saying this person synced at this date and time, this many records got inserted, updated, deleted, these errors happened, etc. There's also an admin API for MirrorSync. So if you are using MirrorSync in a vertical market solution and you want to automate the process of configuring it and setting the license keys and those kinds of things, there's an API, a JSON REST API that you can use to do all those things. Also totally rewritten the documentation, which was way overdue. We never redid the documentation for version 6, so it's been version 5 and earlier for a long time. Now the MirrorSync 7 MirrorSync 7 has totally new documentation. So that's not exciting enough to demo, but it's an important thing to do. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick demo here of the launcher database, and this is where I'm going to talk about. This is going to be a live demo. I've got some pre-recorded demos too, but this is going to be a live demo talking about starting point and MirrorSync, and just showing, if you haven't seen MirrorSync before, I'm going to show you kind of just the basics of how MirrorSync works and what it looks like. So what I've got here is I've got this launcher file. And the launcher file, before I open it, actually, I'm going to open it and I'm going to hold the shift key down. Hold on, sorry. So when you first open the launcher file as a developer, this is what it looks like.
Okay.
And the idea here is that if you've used MirrorSync before, 6 or earlier, you're probably familiar with the idea of a download URL, and that is where you give your users a URL, you email it to them, and they do those 9 clicks to open that in FileMaker Go. Now what we're doing instead is you can take that same download URL, I've got it on my other screen here, you can paste it into this launcher file, and you send this launcher file to your users. You can rename the launcher file to whatever you want, you can put your own branding on it, you can change all the look and feel. And so I'm going to use it to open up FM starting point. This download URL is, so I've already configured FileMaker starting point for MirrorSync. And by the way,
we haven't even touched that.
Yeah. Do you want me to talk? Can I talk about that now?
Yeah, Margaret, you want to bring up your website real quick, or do a share on this while Jesse talks his way through this? This is kind of important. This is a big deal.
What Richard and my guys worked on is we took the latest version of FileMaker starting point and we pre-set up MirrorSync in it. So all of the tables, all the scripts, all the layouts and everything that you need are already in there. I set it up from scratch about, I would say 3 to 4 minutes is how long it took me to set that up. And that was basically just renaming the MirrorSync script to what I wanted to name it to for the demo and putting in the URL of my server. And so it's basically just editing 2 lines in the script in the FileMaker starting point. But yeah, FileMaker starting point out of the box comes ready to go with MirrorSync, and it's actually what I'm using to demo this today.
Yeah, and real quick, this is, so for those of you wondering, so we actually name our products after the current year, the version, the year match. So we are currently shipping 2025 or 25, if you want to call it that. And we were at we call it X1 or build 1 for the year. We shipped X2 today. It should be already live on the website. And this one has the upgrades that the team at 360 worked with our team to, and along with some bug fixes. A bunch of you sent us bug fixes. We put a bunch of bug fixes in Starting Point. It's free. And if you download it, and then you can get MirrorSync 7 for free, download it for free, and use it with one computer for free, then the only thing so far you bought is FileMaker. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw this, the hair is on hot standby. So
someone wrote a substitute function that said substitute RC and then Todd Geist. So
yes. This is my hair. My IQ goes up by 100% when I put this on, and then I'm like Todd because I'm so beautiful, right? So so you have Todd Geist with you. So yeah, so that's what's the announcement today is MirrorSync 7, free Starting Point, which works with it. But it's still pretty easy to set up. And Jesse has promised to come back on the show and show us how to set it up in 5 minutes or less. And he scheduled that for Margaret, that empty day that we have next week. I think Jesse's coming to that day. I'm pretty sure. All right. So Margaret, quit sharing. We'll go back to Jesse and you could continue the conversation.
So back to how this would work. You would take this MirrorSync launcher file. You already saw me drop in that URL to it. Now that the URL is dropped in, when I open it, instead of asking me for a URL, it's going to download a file. And so it's asking me for my credentials. It's going to actually ask me for the credentials twice. Once is to run the initial sync, and once is to open the file later. Before I hit OK here, I want to talk about what's actually happening. I'm demoing a few different things here. One is you can see I'm demoing this launcher file, which is new in MirrorSync 7. The other thing I'm demoing is the feature of MirrorSync to run the initial sync on the server. So when I hit OK here, we're going to get a little bit of a progress bar. A spinner. And the reason that it's taking a little bit longer than it would just to download the file is because not only is it creating a copy of FileMaker Starting Point on FileMaker server, it's actually hosting that FileMaker server, that FMSP file on FileMaker server temporarily to run a sync of that database. So that
I have no idea what the hell you just said. And if I'm confused, I guarantee at least half the audience is confused. Anyone else can confuse, let me know. But so the launcher.
Let me think of a simpler way to say it.
I took my hair off is probably the problem.
Put your hair back on, Richard. Ordinarily, FileMaker server, ordinarily you get a copy of the file that's never been synced before. You put it on your device and you run a sync.
Yeah.
And that sync takes a while because MirrorSync has never seen this file before.
Correct.
And so what I'm demoing now, and for some reason it's taking a lot longer than I expected it to. But what I'm demoing now is that when you, let me make sure something's not stuck here. But basically what I was trying to get at is that rather than, so that initial sync is slow, there's no getting around it. It needs to compare all the records in both systems. And let me find the file I'm trying to delete here. Okay, it doesn't exist yet. Let me try the launcher again. Aiden, there's nothing going on right now. Let's go ahead and try this again.
For the record, this not totally unheard of, but if there's a bug, he will fix it rapidly, which is always a good thing. I always like that's the whole point with the bug fixing conversations, that there are bugs. Jesse generates a lot of them like we do.
Yeah, I've practiced it a bunch of times.
But the sign of a good company is a company that gives a, and that should be a bumper sticker everywhere that you work, from everyone you work with. Mistakes are normal. Fixing the mistakes and taking it seriously is a hallmark of a good organization or a good person. So
thank you.
While he's okay, well, why don't we briefly quit sharing with his screen, Margaret? Because what I want to do is while he is collecting himself.
A question to ask Jesse whenever he's good.
I can answer most of these. Why don't you go and go?
I'm good whenever you guys are ready.
Oh, okay. You are good. Okay, well, let's take the first question and then.
Salesforce has purchased multiple apps over the years, i.e. Tableau, Slack, Informatica most recently. Which apps can MirrorSync connect to?
I'm pretty sure Jesse can sync with Salesforce. That would probably take a little bit of work.
Yeah, we can sync with Salesforce. Tableau, is Tableau a database? I don't.
Kind of not really. They're more of a graphical sort of charting system.
Yeah, I think Tableau will work with whatever backend you point it to.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Salesforce is totally supported for bidirectional syncs. And an interesting thing about Salesforce that makes it's actually tricky to sync with Salesforce because
Go ahead. I know all about this. Go ahead.
yeah, Salesforce doesn't allow you to set the primary keys of records that you write.
Well, there's that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the typically people will try to work around that by having a separate ID field, but then it breaks all your relationships because your foreign keys don't point to that ID field. And so it's really tricky to sync with Salesforce when you have any foreign keys and relationships. And MirrorSync has a feature that we've had for many years that was designed to work with FileMaker serial number primary keys that just so happens to also work really well with the unwritable Salesforce IDs. So yeah, that works really well. Is my screen visible?
Nope, but you could turn that on.
Okay, hang on a sec.
Do you know what happened in your demo?
I don't. I just skipped past that part. I stopped and started the MirrorSync app. I stopped and started the MirrorSync, and I just brought it back up, and then it worked. So I will look at the logs afterwards to figure out why I needed to stop it and start it.
Okay. Well, for the record, I would expect you now. You're definitely required to come back next week. So sorry about that.
I would be happy to come back. Okay. All right. So you guys can see the starting point now?
Yep.
So this is an offline copy starting point. And the reason I know that is because if you do save a copy as, it's enabled.
And recover is both there. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah. So a little trick here is that if you are opening starting point or any other database from, let me make sure, oh, that's the wrong version. All right. So this copy starting point on the left, notice the save a copy as is grayed out.
Oh yeah.
So I know that this is a hosted file. This copy over on the right, save a copy is enabled. So I know this is my offline copy. Sometimes it can be hard to keep them apart. So I'm going to go into context, and I'm just going to do some really simple operations to just let people know the basic concepts behind MirrorSync. So I'm going to go to my hosted copy, and I'm going to create a new record here. And then I've got that record. I'm going to come in my offline copy. Doesn't exist yet. I go and I run my MirrorSync script. And you can, it's just a regular FileMaker script. You can run it from the menu here. You could create a sync button, attach the script to the button.
It could run on startup. It could run on a trigger.
Yeah, when you save a record, when you finish an invoice, anything like that can run the MirrorSync script. Okay. So I just ran that script. It took 0.9 seconds and it added a record to my contact table.
And this is a verbose message that your users would not see generally, I would hope. So
this is the message that, is it too long? Do I need to make that shorter?
No, in general, but I would just, I would, it depends.
It's a little bit,
that should be a preference setting so you don't have to spray that at the customer, right? At the user.
There is a capability to customize all of the dialogues that come with MirrorSync.
Okay. Yeah.
So like the section down here.
Oh, so you could just comment that out if you're not an admin. Like if you're an admin, that'd be fine. But if you're not an admin, it'd be like, put a check box or something on the screen or something. Yeah. So yeah.
Yep. All the dialogues that we show can be controlled by just modifying the script here and changing the wording on everything.
Yep. Cool. So he did the sync. Yeah.
So I've done the sync. So I created a new record from the hub to the spoke. I'm going to edit the record on the spoke. I'm going to pick something here. I've made a change. Notice that change is title of president. I don't have president over on the hosted version. I'm going to MirrorSync again. Finished in 1 second. Modified that record on the hub.
And the data redrew right there.
And there's the president. So let's talk about changing the same record on both. The hub
I was waiting for that question. Margaret, do you have a question? Because you should have a question right now.
I was looking at chat to make sure nothing was happening, so I missed the last little chunk.
Oh, no. Well, the question is going to be what happens if I change both bits of data at the same time, right? Which is what Jesse was about. Jesse and I have done this demo probably 5 or 6 times over the years now, promoting it at least. And so that always is
in my defense, I have demoed this several times. Yes. You never come on my show.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I already know where the customer questions are going to come from. And the customer question is, what happens if 2 people change the same bit of data at the same time? What the hell do you do? It's a good question.
Yeah, it is. And it's hard to take care of without a tool like MirrorSync.
Well, to be clear, it's why Claris has never built synchronization into their product, because let me just give everyone a moment here. So when you do Dropbox, whoever edits the file last on Dropbox, let's use Dropbox. Probably half the audience here uses Dropbox. The other half has heard of it, has probably seen it before. Everyone thinks synchronization is as simple as Dropbox. If I edit a file, I save the file, that file gets uploaded, everyone gets it. Okay. Databases are infinitely more complicated because of the field level edits, right? And so what happens if we both edit the record, but and it's the same record? Well, whose data are you going to throw away? Because someone's data is going to get shot, dead.
Right. So what I've done here is on the server, I've changed the email address. On the client, I've changed the website address, but they're in the same record. So I've changed two different fields in the same record. So let's see what that does. I'm going to run the MirrorSync script, and it's going to, oh, it's still locked on the server. I do this all the time with starting point. I always forget to click out of the record. Let me try this again. Then actually, I should have showed that error message a little bit better, because it was actually showing a feature of MirrorSync, which is that if a record is in use on the server, we can't actually edit it, but MirrorSync will just remember that it didn't edit it, and it will try again next time.
Yeah, but next time, yeah, you have a boo-boo. Yeah, yeah, Margaret,
So
this is all relevant to you, Margaret. This is right in your wheelhouse where your skill set is.
Yeah, so, that was not a bug. That was actually a feature that MirrorSync said, I can't edit it right now. I'll try again. So all I did was commit the record, so I'm no longer editing it, and then run the sync again. Notice that this time, I know this message is a little bit long, but it says FileMaker spoke node, which is my offline copy, modified. FileMaker hub node was modified. So it changed both the hub and the spoke. And you can see that what it did, if I click onto this record for Jesse Barnum, is it merged those changes. I had modified just the email address on the hosted version. I had modified just the website on the offline version. MirrorSync saw that. It saw that both records were modified. Instead of picking one or the other, it got down to the field level and saw what was changed in each field on the records, and saw, oh, the field email was modified over here. The field website was modified over there. I'll just put those two together and I'll merge them.
Yeah, it's pretty smart like that, which is great. So, and then the issue is, what do you do when two people edit the same, edit the same field? And part of this is getting into good database design, because if someone says, let me just lay this out for everyone real quick. So if you have a notes field, say we have a notes field on the left and a notes field on the right, or on server or different, and everyone keeps editing the same notes field, you're going to have this problem. But like in Starting Point and other data systems, if you put a new note in the system, you've added a new record, which there's never going to be a conflict with that, right? So you don't run the risk of, it's like, for example, bad design. I have an invoicing system, a CRM. We have a customer, we bill them once a month. I have an invoice in the database. Margaret, you can see this. I'm paying every month. I change that invoice and I send them and I print and send them a new copy. And every month I find their record and I change the data and I send them a new copy. And so even over the course of 12 months, I should have 12 invoices. I have one because people who don't know any better will find something, tweak it just enough, and print it or email it or send it out.
They won't actually make a new version. They'll just alter the old one.
Yes. And I haven't seen it so much lately, but historically, I think that's a behavior people will do. And as a developer, we have to watch out for that. And if we can get them to build new records, then we never run into each other, right?
Yeah, I think you can, a generalization I would make is, in most databases, not just FileMaker, it's better to have more small things than less big things. So
yes,
more small records, more small table. It's usually better to have 3 small tables than 1 big table. It's usually better to have 5 records that each contain a little bit of information about each other than 1 record that contains all 5 of those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a good takeaway. And some of us, most everyone here pays attention to what we're talking about, and they know that. But there are some people here that be reminded of the basics. And it's good to remind, because talking to Jesse, listen, bad design is fine until it's not. It's like people say, well, Richard, how do you fly the helicopter? Well, I say, well, I fly it generally cautiously, because you can do whatever the hell, like a motorcycle. You can be the biggest ass on the freeway and it's all fine until it's not.
Yeah.
And then it's going to kill you or someone else, or your database is going to eat critical data. And so bad design is doing things like that. Good design is, a new invoice every month or a new note, or narrow tables. We call them narrow tables, but smaller tables,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, it's so much more efficient to have 5 tables that each have 50 fields than it is to have one table with 250 fields.
By far, by far. And people go, why? It's just, trust me, it's like physics. I could explain physics to you, but gravity's there. Trust me, it's there.
Yeah.
And just use it. It's your friend.
So what I've done here is I've changed this. Now I'm getting to the part where we're changing the same exact field on the same exact record. Previously, I changed different fields on the same record, but now I'm setting this. It's a semi-cold lead on the server version. It's a hot prospect on the offline version. Same field. So now let's run my sync and see what happens. So this is good. This is what I was hoping to get. Same records were modified both on your local copy and the server for the following tables, contacts, and there's one record. So I'm going to click resolve. This pops up in my other window, so let me drag it onto this screen. And this is going to work. This would look the same on an iPhone or an iPad or a laptop. It's just going to be smaller if it's on a phone. But basically what we can see here is that there's one contact record and the category is in conflict. So I'm going to click this record and I'm going to see, oh, on the server it was set to semi-cold. On my copy, it was set to hot prospect. And I can see that everything else matches. So none of these other fields are in red, but I can see all the fields to know, which record I'm looking at and what the context is. And then I can say, okay, well, the correct one here is hot prospect. So I'm going to pick that. And I can see visually that I've resolved this conflict. So I'm going to say finished. And that says your selections have been saved to the server. Close this window and rerun your sync script to apply these changes. So I'm going to do that. Close this. Come back here. I should wind up with hot prospect in both. I've got hot prospect and semi-cold. Okay, it modified one record on the hub. Hasn't redrawn yet.
There it goes. And once
hot
again,
prospect in both.
There you go.
So you resolved it, but it hadn't baked in until you reran this sync. So
no, right. The resolution isn't actually running the sync. The resolution is remembering your choices at the next time
for the next sync. Yes,
correct.
Very important. Yeah.
Yes, good point. Good point. I don't usually remember to point that out. That's a really good point.
Well, that's why you come on the show where people don't use your, because I don't personally use MirrorSync every day. So it's great for me to come at this from a basic user perspective. A lot of my engineers use it.
Yeah, and I learn a lot from hearing about people that don't use it. Because I don't have that perspective, so it really helps me.
Right. Questions from Larry. Did we answer your question? People on Discord, YouTube, Twitch, welcome. Yep. Yes. Larry says he's good to go on that one.
Okay.
And
so the last thing I'm going to show here before I move on is deletions. So deletions is the hardest part of syncing. No, conflict resolution is the hardest part. Deletions is the second hardest part. So I'm going to delete this record. I didn't flag it as deleted. I didn't run a script that stored, in a table some.
You just deleted the shit out of it, right?
Did a normal plain old deletion.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to come over here. I've still got 2 records on my hub, only one on the spoke. I'm going to run my sync again, and MirrorSync will say there should be 2 records here, but I only see 1. Let me get a list of all the ones that are there and compare it to the list that I should have. Oh, I see the one is missing. Let me go delete that on the other side. So it deleted that on the hub. And so that's creation, editing, conflict resolution, deleting in FileMaker Starting Point. Like we talked about, FileMaker Starting Point already comes out of the box ready to go with MirrorSync. The scripts are all set. The layouts are all set. The table's already there. So it's like a 5-minute setup to do that. And so, Margaret, did we get all the questions before I move to some other demos?
Margaret, I'm not looking at, I'm just looking at Discord. Discord mostly looks okay.
Using global fields to push updates only when pushing the update button.
Oh, global fields.
What's the question? Say that again.
Let me back up. Just start with global fields in general. If you have a global field, would you sync that?
I would not. MirrorSync will not sync global fields because it's impossible to modify them on the server.
Okay. So that goes with variables and some. Okay, trust me. People are asking the questions, but I think the people asking questions haven't either fully thought it out or it's fine. Please ask the questions.
Yeah, and maybe what's happening is maybe people are using global fields to store things like, logos or
Sure.
preferences
Sure.
or invoice addresses
Sure.
or something like that. And so in that case, I would really highly recommend moving away from global fields entirely and instead having a single record table called like system settings or preferences.
We've done shows. We do shows every 8 or 12 months on preferences.
Yes.
So yeah.
And just do a cross join relationship to them and just store them in a single record non-global table.
Okay.
If you're trying to sync global fields, it might possibly be a sign that you're using globals for the wrong thing.
Margaret, Margaret, you're following the you understand that concept conversation.
Yeah, well, because the point of a global field is that it's local information local to you. Why would you need to sync it up to the server?
Right.
And Jesse's point is that maybe you're misusing it. If that's the case, if you think you're misusing it, and I'm not picking on anyone, please, this is for beginners, right? Trust me on this. Margaret can find from the 60-day thing or one of our training of a live stream we covered on the prefs table. The prefs table is what Jesse just said. It's how to adjust your trajectory to get the features you want and to make them work correctly, to build it correctly, and so everything works nicely. So I don't know if you have any ability.
If you've ever said to yourself, let me close the database on the server so I can change this global and then reopen it, that's a sign that you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, trust me, we are not picking on you. If one person had that question, there was probably 100 other people over the next month. They're going to see this video. These videos are very popular. They will see it and they'll go, oh, okay. Yeah. And because I want you, listen, at the end of the day, I want everyone to be successful. Jesse's here because at the end of the day, we can't really be fully successful in the Claris FileMaker platform without this product. It's why he's on the show. and so with that in mind, if I see something else that like might limit your ability to be successful, I'm going to point that out and I'm going to send you a video on it totally for free. Go watch this video. Margaret will find the press video somewhere that we've done before and watch that and it'll help explain that. So other questions, Margaret? Yes.
My next demo, or do we have questions?
I know you're good. So we can pop into the demo.
My next demo is going to be new. I think Richard, I don't think you've seen this either. I'm going to show the iOS SDK deployment thing. I know you've seen iOS SDK deployment. You haven't seen it with MirrorSync.
Yeah, FileMaker iOS App SDK.
So this is a canned demo. I want to be really clear. The demo I showed you with Starting Point was live. This is not live because I don't have Xcode hooked up to my phone on this computer, so it'll be really hard to show you.
Bill. So this is Margaret. So iOS. So back up, everyone's what we're talking about. So you have FileMaker Go that runs on iOS. Okay. FileMaker Go allows you to run FMP12 files. If you want to somehow take your FMP12 file and FileMaker Go and somehow put it on Apple's App Store or distribute it somehow, you can't do that. It's like one of those you can't get there from here. So Claris took the FileMaker Go product and they have a set of instructions that are fairly technical, and they're Hansa from has a way of making it. Is another company that'll help you do this more simply. But the point is, you go through this process, and iOS App SDK takes your FMP12 file and FileMaker Go, and it screws them together into one app. It allows you to kind of scrub all the Claris FileMaker crap branding out of it, so it looks like it's your app.
Yep.
And that's what Jesse's showing.
Yeah. So I'm showing this now. This is a little demo app that we put together called Roswell Rescue. This is bundled together with the iOS SDK. We're going to open this up. This is not running in FileMaker Go. It's a native iOS SDK app that could be distributed on the App Store or with MDM or something like that. It's a pet rescue application. This would be used during like an event where people are coming to adopt a new pet. This would be used by volunteers or workers at the adoption event to fill in information. They don't need to worry about whether they have internet, cellular data, or any of that stuff. So, they can just focus on, what they're doing and not worry about like doing to stand in this section of the parking lot to get better internet or something like that. So they're going to use MirrorSync to sync this application. Interestingly, I'm going to pause it for just a moment right here. Read this carefully. Hub node, MySQL, sync adoptions added 1. Not FileMaker, it's MySQL. So this application is Margaret, I thought you'd get a kick out of this. because this application is not syncing FileMaker Go to FileMaker Server. This application is syncing FileMaker Go to a MySQL database. And so I'm going to go ahead and let this run. And so now what I'm going to demonstrate is switching to FileMaker Pro. And again, I just want to stress, this is a pre-recorded video. I'm not doing this live. But I can switch to FileMaker Go and I can make some development changes here. So I'm going to go into layout mode. Let's just say my customer has said the delete button is distracting. It's too close to the edit button. I want to be farther away, and I want the color to be changed so it's not so prominent. So we're going to make that development change. The problem with iOS SDK applications is that they've always been historically very difficult to update in the field.
You're not about to do what I think you're going to do, are you?
You're going to like this, yeah. So what I'm going to do here is now I'm going to go to the MirrorSync version table, or the MirrorSync table. And there's a field in here called database version. And this database version works the same way on an iOS SDK app as it works with just regular FileMaker Go. Now I'm going to switch back to my iOS SDK app. I'm going to run my sync. My sync works. I'm going to click OK. And now here's the cool part. There's a new database version available named 1.1. Would you like to replace your current offline? Let's talk about what I'm not doing here. I am not rebundling my app with the iOS SDK.
Correct.
I am not going to the App Store and submitting this to Apple for yet another approval.
Correct.
I am not sideloading a new version of the app with the iTunes cable. I am not using Jamp or any other MDM software to do it. All I have done as the developer is just simply change the database version field in the hosted solution. And now the users at the event will click OK. A new version is downloading and compressing, and then it's going to.
You really got to get with me for help with marketing with this, because you need some pictures here. So
this is so cool.
Yeah, but half the people here, Margaret, their heads just exploded. So let's talk about this real quick. So an iOS app SDK is an FMP12 file, one or more FMP12 files, and a copy of Go glued together. The file becomes what we call an IPA file. It can be downloaded on iOS or through the App Store, whatever. So we had a rescue app 1.0. Jesse, this is where I'm about to say, you need to stop me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, keep going.
1.0 doggy rescue file in FileMaker Go. And I think there's a sync file in there. There's a 360 works in that iOS bundle too. Is that
there's a MirrorSync launcher file.
In this. So there's two FMP12 files in this bundle. One's a MirrorSync launcher file. Okay, Margaret, you following? So then he did something on his master side in FileMaker Go. Back up your video. Grab your video thingy. Can you go backwards?
I've never tried going backwards.
You have the little scrubber thing at the bottom. Oh my God, I don't know.
Not in Keynote.
Oh, don't be Keynote. Okay, so the point is that he made an edit on Pro or Go. He made a change. Then he made a note in the database where the local remote copies will say, hey, I have 1.0, but I want 1.1. So it downloaded 1.1 into his IPA file. It's into the app. It took the old FMP12 file. Did it get rid of it?
Yeah, so here's the secret sauce that we discovered is that, so we tried to do this before.
Yeah.
And the problem we ran into before, sorry, I keep messing up my video, so I'm just going to stop messing with it. The problem we ran into before is that every time you close your main FMP12 file in the IPA bundled app, it would exit the application. So we were unable to replace the version of it because in order to replace it, we had to close it. This is where the launcher file comes to our rescue, because when you actually bundle up this app, you only bundle up an 815 kilobyte launcher file. You don't bundle the actual solution file at all. You just take that same launcher file that I was demoing before, you put your URL in it that points to your real solution, and then you distribute that launcher file as your application.
So back up. So when you build when you bundle, when you go to Xcode and you build this app, right? You have remember I said an FMP12 file in FileMaker Go, and it groups them together. But the main FMP12 file is your sync file, your launcher file. Is what
exactly,
you're saying?
The launcher file.
So it's the main file. And
so what's really happening right now in the video is that when I let this run and it says downloading, notice at the top, the name of the file is Roswell Rescue Launcher.
So yeah, so he is bundled the launcher, but the launcher is smart because it does sync stuff, and it will also go and download a fresh copy into his Go. This is cool.
This
Yeah,
is extremely cool.
And here's the deal: what people don't understand, Margaret was one of the first presenters at DEF CON. She was 17, 16 at the time,
Yeah.
15. And she presented on this for 10 minutes in front of 1,000 people and practiced iOS. So she knows iOS better than most people do, or in terms of the FiOS, the FileMaker iOS stuff. And so, yeah, so this is a big deal because then you could build it and you don't have to keep sending people back to Apple, right?
Right,
Yes.
right, because that's a hassle.
It is
a
because
major hassle.
because you submit it to Apple, and Apple may or may not run checks on your app. You could try to pay them more money, so you're doing an enterprise-only app, blah blah blah. But once you download it, as long as it's not doing something unsavory like stealing people's credit cards or showing, heaven forbid, pornography or some crazy thing, because Apple can remote kill applications on your phone and your devices, not on your laptop, but they'll kill it on the if they decide that something bad's on it. They've done it before where someone had 1 million users. The next day they had 0 users because they did a remote kill.
Flashlight apps that were actually a bundled VPN.
Yeah. Flashlight. Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy stuff that's going on. It's mostly there to protect the customers, but at the end of the day, they could shoot your app in the head, and you don't want them to do that because maybe they don't, maybe they don't like dogs. Who knows? I mean, I'm being flipped, but you get the idea.
Yeah. So let me put some pieces together here. Let me connect several various dots that we've talked about. I paused it on this screen because I want to come back to the part about this MySQL part. Let's say that you have, a customer, a potential customer maybe, and they're running Salesforce, and they say, "Hey, could you build me a mobile Salesforce application?" You're like, "Well, I'm not a Salesforce developer, and even if I were, I don't know if I could build a mobile version of it. And even if I could build a mobile version of it, I don't know if it would work offline." Well, all of those questions can be solved by MirrorSync, because what you can do is you can create a FileMaker Go application using the tools and technology you already know how to use. You can set up MirrorSync to sync that directly with a Salesforce application or a MySQL application or an Oracle application or Postgres or any of the other things that we talked about. And now you can build a mobile application for your potential customer without needing to be an expert on the particular database thing that they're using. And you can distribute it to the public as an application on the App Store. And you can take care of all the version updates using this version feature. And FileMaker Server actually doesn't even get in the picture. I mean, you can certainly use this with FileMaker Server. But what I want to make sure everybody on this call realizes is that you could do all this for a totally non-FileMaker Server environment and have an end-to-end solution that lets you build this mobile app, sync it with whatever database you want to, and manage all the version updates using MirrorSync.
That's pretty big.
Which is awesome. That's fantastic.
I'm very excited about the potential for what we can do with this.
Because basically it gives you Go functionality without actually having to use FileMaker Go if you don't want to use FileMaker Go for any particular reason.
Right. Yeah. So let's move to speed improvements, and I'm going to go as fast as I can here. So the big, there's a lot of speed changes in 7, but the ones I'm going to really talk about and demo is comparing record contents and comparing container field contents. Since I'm behind speed, I'm not going to talk about them here. I'll talk about them when I get to the demo. Not important. Oh, empty clones. We're using the new feature in FileMaker Server that lets you generate a clone-only thing. So if you guys have used MirrorSync before and you distribute empty clones, you might have noticed that it might take a really long time to generate an empty clone. That's because the way FileMaker Server used to work is it would create a full copy of the database plus an empty clone. We only want the clone, so we would throw away that full copy. But one of our customers, we saw it go from 40 minutes to 8 seconds to generate empty clones, because now FileMaker Server has a feature to do a clone-only backup. And then I will talk about this last bullet point here. We had a real customer. You'll see their solution in the next screen. Their name is OneSource, and their database is called Life Notes. And they had a 33 gigabyte database, 136 tables. They have a they're a heavy user of MirrorSync. Their initial syncs normally take 28 minutes. We switched them to MirrorSync 7, and we changed nothing except for the version of MirrorSync, and their initial syncs went from 28 minutes to 6 minutes and 48 seconds.
Woo!
So without changing anything else, it made it more than 4 times faster. So it's pretty realistic that you're going to see noticeable speed differences from switching from 6 to 7. So this demo right here is, I'm going to let this go, and I'm going to talk about it while it runs. Is it going? Yeah. So this is the Life Notes application, and I'm going to switch to a reference table that they've got here, and I'm going to replace all the field contents. I'm going to replace them with themselves. So the records are not actually changing, but the modification timestamps are going to change for every record. And this is a very common thing that we see from the standpoint of supporting MirrorSync, is that people will call us and they're like, why is my sync so slow? And we'll look at all their logs and we're like, because you have a 100,000 record database and you changed every single record in the database. It's got to sync 100,000 records.
Well, they changed, right? Because they changed it, Margaret, but they didn't change it, right?
Yes.
Right. Like they'll do something like they'll have a server-side script that'll run every night, and the server-side script will say, "I'm backing up this video a little bit, so because I wanted to talk about one thing before I let it go." They'll have a server-side script that runs every single night, and it'll say, "Set the invoice total equal to the sum of all the line items." Well, for 99% of the invoices in there, the total already equals the sum of the line items. So they're setting it and changing the modification timestamp without actually doing anything. So that's exactly what I simulated here. Now, what I want to talk about, what I want to show here before I let it go is I've got MirrorSync 7 running on the left, MirrorSync 6 running on the right. Everything is identical except for the version of MirrorSync. So let me go and click Run Sync on both at the same time. Again, I got the newer version on the left, the older version on the right. The MirrorSync 7 finished in 3.8 seconds. And you'll notice, if you look carefully, that it added a few records to an activity table, but it didn't modify any records in the codes table, which is the one that I did the replacing. And it's because MirrorSync 7 is now smart enough to say, okay, yeah, the modification timestamp changed, but let me check the contents of the record and compare them with the contents of the last time I saw the record. And if those contents still match, I'm not going to sync them to the other database.
How do you do that fast? I don't understand.
Okay. Hashing. So what we do is we still actually fetch all 1,000 records from the database that they came from. Then for each record, we generate an MD5 hash.
Okay, stop. Just smart math. I got it. I got what you said. I don't want to explain hashes to the audience. Some of you know what this is. Trust me, smart math. Done.
And by the way, MirrorSync 6 is not paused on the right. The video is not paused. It's still running on the right side.
Oh, I know, because that's what I'm saying, Margaret. He's doing smart math and it makes it go way better. And so that's what he's happy to show us, which is great. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so MirrorSync
70 versus 3.
Yeah, finished in 3.8. MirrorSync 6 finished in 70.3 seconds. That's, I think, 18 times faster. And so that's what we're seeing there. So in the interest of speed, I'm going to keep going to the next demo. So for this demo, kind of a similar concept, but now we're still hashing, but instead of hashing just the whole record, I'm hashing just the containers. So this time I've got 204 records in this database. This time I'm doing another replace, but this is a real replace. I'm actually changing image to photo for all 204 records. And then the same thing, I'm going to run the sync on MirrorSync 7 on the left, MirrorSync 6 on the right. I'm going to start them at the exact same time. And I actually changed all 204 records. But what I didn't change was the photos. So MirrorSync 7 is going to compare each individual photo. And just like it did with the hash for the record contents, it'll do a hash on the container fields individually. And it finishes in 7-point-something seconds. This is also another very common thing that we see happen is people will have, they'll have 100 text fields and then 5 container fields. And they'll go in and they'll change one field in the text thing from like active to finished. And they'll sync it. And MirrorSync 6 would have synced those 100 text fields plus those 5 container fields. MirrorSync 7 will sync those 100 the text fields, but for each of the 5 container fields, it'll say, did this one change? Did this one change? Did this one change? Did this one change? And it'll only sync the container fields that actually had a change in them compared to what they previously were.
There you go.
If I let this continue to run on the right side, it would take 111 seconds on the right. So I'm just going to, in the interest of speed, I'm going to just speed right past that. And then I know I'm a little bit over time, but this last demo is really, this is the one that I was saying that everybody has been so excited about that I've been showing. So I'm just going to let this run and talk about it while it goes. So this is the initial sync. People who've used MirrorSync, they know that it can be hard, it can be difficult for the users to complete an initial sync because sometimes, the initial syncs might take an hour. Sometimes they might take 2 hours if they've got 50,000 records that they're syncing to an empty clone. There's no getting around that. What's going to happen here is that on MirrorSync 7 on the left, it has an email notification feature now. So instead of making the user sit there and wait and watch the sync like it is on the right, they can close out of FileMaker Go completely. They don't need to be in FileMaker Go at all. The server side is running the sync, and it's just going to email them when it finishes.
Yep. Okay, I can see why that is a very favorite feature.
Yes. So
it's like the little vibrate. It's like when you get the vibrator at the restaurant, you put it in your pocket and it buzzes. Says, your table is now ready.
Yes. You don't need to sit there and keep going up to the hostess table. Is it ready? Is it ready? Is it ready?
No, it buzzes in your pocket. And it's like, wow, okay.
They can go leave and do other things and have the entire thing sync behind them. That's great.
So the initial sync is already done. So I'm now running an incremental sync on the left. There were no changes, so it finished in 1.4 seconds. We're still trying to finish the initial sync in MirrorSync 6 on the right. So again, I'm not going to waste time waiting for that to finish, but that finishes in like 96 seconds.
Okay.
Almost done here. The upgrade process is really simple. You just run the MirrorSync 7 installer over top of MirrorSync 6. Ooh. It will work with your existing files. So you don't need to worry about it being incompatible with the users who have it now. You can then run it on the server immediately. It'll continue to work with their older offline files. They just won't get all the speed benefits.
Okay.
So when you get a chance, you replace the FileMaker script on your server. When you get a chance, you get new copies to your users with that new script. Once your offline users get that new copy, then they'll get all the speed benefits that I've been demoing.
Cool.
So last slide is just pricing and availability. Like we talked about before, it's totally free for one device. A device could be a laptop, an iPad, an iPhone. It's totally free. The additional devices range from $400 to $750 a month, depending on how many you're getting. If you want to do like an iOS app thing and you're going to have thousands of people using it, contact us. We've got special pricing for 1,000 device bundles. The server-to-server syncs, we've simplified the pricing a lot. We used to have different price for different combinations of types of servers. Now it's all just $115 a month.
Okay.
If you're hosting with 360works, we include the MirrorSync hosting at no extra cost. You still need to purchase the license of MirrorSync, but we include the actual hosting server at no extra cost. And the rest of it, I think people can just read, so I won't waste time going over it.
Well, yeah, I would be more concerned, but you're going to be back to clean up this on next Wednesday, so we will be picking that up. But questions, Margaret?
The launcher file is the one approved by the Apple Store for the iOS app SDK stuff.
Yes. So when you're bundling your app, you're just taking the launcher file, you're bundling that as an IPA with FileMaker Go, and you're sending that without your actual solution file included for approval. And then when the app is open for the first time, it'll automatically download your real solution file and open that.
Clever. If you're using an API to sync FM Go, does that mean I don't need to worry about buying licenses for Go?
I don't know.
You don't buy licenses for Go? Go is
free.
Go is free.
Oh, I see. They're talking about Claris has gone to this model essentially for the most part, especially with Go and WebDirect, where you're going to pay for against your server connections, right? So if you use Go and iOS and you say you're syncing to, if you're syncing to say SQL Server, then you're kind of bypassing Claris and the licensing. I think it's kind of an edge case. I don't know how many people really do that. I think it's a good tool to have.
I think that if you're syncing file, so when you're syncing FileMaker Go to FileMaker Server,
you're going to pay for the server connections, correct?
You should pay for the server connections. I don't think that there's a way to enforce that on FileMaker's part because
that's what I'm saying. It's
we're going through the data API to do it.
This is one of these peripheral kind of areas where you can weasel and basically get something for free, assuming that using a SQL server will somehow buy you benefits over FileMaker Server. Certainly it's going to be considerably faster, but the overhead and the babysitting and the technical skills on that are not exactly trivial. So yeah, whoever asked the question, yeah, you can probably weasel. There's no enforcement on that, I don't think.
My interpretation of FileMaker's licensing agreement is that if you're syncing FileMaker Go to FileMaker Server, if you've got 75 people out there syncing, you should buy 75 seats of FileMaker
Correct.
Server.
That's their official policy. But if you're not using FileMaker Server, then what, right? And it's
Then
like,
my interpretation of their licensing agreement is that you are not required to purchase licenses for FileMaker Go devices because you are not moving data between FileMaker Go and FileMaker Server.
FileMaker Server, yeah. But you're using their product, but they're not going to provide tech support, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, yeah, that's an interesting question. Of course, someone would ask us the one question because I think a couple Claris people are watching us right now. It's like, ugh.
I did contemplate that question from. I was like,
Yeah, I think the best answer to that question is to carefully read the licensing agreement from Claris. None of us are lawyers.
Although we play one on TV on a frequent basis. So yeah. Other questions?
MirrorSync 7 works with FileMaker 2022 or prior. Do I need 22 for MirrorSync to work?
We have tested it with FileMaker 19 and later.
Okay.
19 what? Like 19.0?
19.6. Sorry,
okay.
19.6.
Yeah,
19, anything earlier than 19.6 is no longer supported by Claris, so we didn't bother testing with anything earlier than that. And in case people are not aware, there are some pretty serious security flaws prior to 19.6, so you should not use FileMaker's prior.
Well, to be clear, 19.6 is not currently supported either, right? So 19.6 is out of support. Currently, what's in support is 20 FileMaker 20.
Okay.
And that goes out of support in December is the schedule that I have. So
Claris only
that's why you come on the show. We educate you on all those edge cases that you don't pay attention to. But yeah, no, I'm messing with Jesse, but Claris normally supports, as a rule of thumb, the current product in market and then 2 years back. So if we're on 22, then they're going to support 22 and 21 and 20 to a point. And 20 to a point is going to come to an end here pretty soon. 19.6 is already out of support. On the operating systems, they support the current operating system generally, and then last 2 years of operating systems. So, and if you're on Windows, I mean, I caught Margaret and I. We're not going to name the guilty parties here, but U.S. federal government agencies running around with FileMaker 7, 8 on Windows in the last month. And because it would work on Mac, it won't work, but on Windows.
About to say, like the fact that it worked on Windows 11 was mind blowing to me. I was like,
yeah, it was Windows 11 Pro, and it worked just fine. Like it's the ugliest database I've ever seen, but they were using it to the positive benefit and support of the U.S. government in a local non-server situation. So they sit back to what Jesse said. There are major server security updates. You should not have a server in any way connected to the internet that you're not keeping up to date. Because you're exposed to danger. Okay, everyone?
Yes.
So, and I'm not saying run around in a panic. Please don't do that. But don't just phone. I mean, it's like the government, like if you're the person that has a FileMaker 7 server and you're still using FileMaker 7 on the internet. Rethink
and there are severe security problems prior to 19.6 that if you're running FileMaker Server 18 still, just be aware that there are hacks that are published out there that will let anybody get onto your server and steal all of your data.
Yeah, so you don't want to do that. And because it's it's just one of the sort of things. Now, if you're the most boring person in the world and you have nothing in there except like the names of the rescue dogs that have been rescued, let me help all of you.
My app is
no one gives a okay, but if you have credit card numbers, addresses, anything interesting like that, then no bueno.
God forbid that you store. I still see occasionally customer solutions that we work on that store customer passwords in their
credit
database.
Card numbers in their database. Yeah, I had a couple customers are like, "Oh, we got lots of attorneys." I'm like, "Well, you better be planning on using them if you put credit card data in there."
Don't store passwords or credit card numbers. Period.
And there's ways around that, right? You can pay companies that do that, and you do an API, talk to them. That's fine, secure. So with that in mind, Jesse Barnum will be back next Wednesday. If he's not, Claris will be here to represent him. So this is called blackmail for all of you wondering how to deal with Jesse and 360 Works. We're going to blackmail him to show back up for additional training. If you folks have questions, please submit them, send them to us. Jesse, how do we get a hold of you if they have questions? They want to ask you a question or buy the product? What do we do?
You can email me at jesse@360works.com, but the best email address is support@360works.com. I actually check the support emails before my own emails, so that's actually the fastest way to get a hold of me. Plus, there's 3 other guys that check support. So the best email address is support@360works.com.
I think we're good. Jesse, I'll just call this like MirrorSync 7 continued, like part 2.
Yeah, I will focus on the actual setup process, and it might be a lot shorter because I don't think I can make the setup take an hour. So
if your demo blows up a couple times, you'll stretch that thing right on out.
I might be able to get lucky and really stretch it out a lot.
Just blow that server up.
That is an interesting definition of lucky.
I'll show how to set up FileMaker starting point with MirrorSync 7.
And then we'll make it a recording and we'll send it out to everyone, and everyone will want to have it. It's good. Yeah. This is good stuff, so we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on, Richard. I really appreciate it. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.